This is where the big boys play, huh? We ain't here to play. At the total combined weight. At the total combined weight of 589 pounds.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, at well over 500 pounds, this is where the big boys play.
All right, welcome to the show, everybody. This is At a Combined Weight. I am your host, Charlie Dudley, joined, as always, by Robert McElroy, rocking the Four Horsemen shirt today.
The by God Horseman.
Today we're going to look at the September 23rd, 1996 episode of WCW Monday Nitro, and it's an interesting episode of Nitro, not because of its contents, but merely because of the fact that you and I were there both live. Yes?
Yes, this is true, and it's the only... I mean, you and I would meet 10 years later at Codify during Rush, and I've been having to put up with your bullshit ever since.
Right.
This was 10 years prior to that day, 2000. Not like to the day, but
right.
Around
the time, yeah.
I mean, yeah, 20 years ago, we're both in the same building watching the same wrestling show. 10 years after that, we would meet, and 10
we're
years
probably
after
in
that,
the same building again. And then 10 years after that, here we are on the same podcast.
Yeah,
because September 23rd. I mean, today's the 21st. Which would have been a Saturday.
Yes.
So we were probably in Jordan Hare, to be honest.
True.
Or tailgating it up.
Yeah. Well, you know how Facebook will show you your memories.
I don't give a shit about that.
Oh, well, before you just fucking cut me off, let me talk about it. God damn it. So it'll show you like what happened a year ago, what happened 2 years ago, 3, 4, etc. And what recently has popped up in my Facebook here is back in 2010, it was Clemson tailgate pictures. So here that means at least 2010 we were getting ready to play Clemson. So 4 years prior to that was the 06 season. We'd go 11-2 that year. Tuberville's last good year, really.
06 we played Buffalo.
Okay.
It was September 23rd.
All right.
We played Buffalo, beat them 38-7. We were number 2 in the country at the time.
Well, then that actually probably wasn't a game that you and I were at.
No, I would. 06, I might have gone, but we at least tailgated and drank some libations and whatnot.
You know, that year I was a pledge, so I may have chosen that game to help do pledge shit because I was a transfer student, so I didn't have access to the really good student ticket package. I'd have to take the shitty games. So when it came to divvying up duties between us pledges to do
you definitely
games,
wanted to do Buffalo.
well, yeah. So I kind of, I was more than likely at the, so we probably were.
Because you're working what, like a 2 quarters of the game? Because everybody's going to leave at halftime and say, fuck this, let's go to the bars, or let's go take a nap before we go out, whatever.
Yeah. Well, there was one weekend that season that I did, and of course you have to let your pledge trainer, everybody like that know. I had a wedding to go to. So this might have been like a wedding thing. The only other, because I do not remember watching Buffalo, but hell, I very well could have.
Oh, I remember watching Buffalo because of Turner Gill was their coach at the time.
Ah, yes.
I remember how hot of a coaching prospect that he was, so much so that he ended up getting the Nebraska job and he got the Kansas job and did shittily. But who does well at Kansas besides Charlie Weis at one time, maybe?
Nobody. Kansas is definitely that's a dumpster fire of a place to be going to. That's where coaches go to die, essentially.
Oh, yeah, for football, for sure.
Yeah.
So, Monday Nitro is live from Birmingham. Now, we sat directly in front of the entrance ramp. Okay? So, if you're looking at the hard camera, we're to the right. And we were probably about 8 to 10 rows up from the floor. So we had pretty good seats, but pretty good seats for what? There was no real good matches on the show. There was a dark match because I watched this today. It's the first time I've seen this Nitro since I watched the tape of it when we got home. I taped this Nitro because I didn't want to miss it. And I was hoping, like a 11 or 12-year-old kid, hey, I might be on TV. But not knowing that they don't show that far up in the damn stands. But anyway, so I watched it today, and the one match that I had, visibly remembered watching, it was a dark match. I was expecting to see Rey Mysterio Super Calo open the show, and that was a dark match. Because I turned it on today, and I was like, the fuck is this? Fucking Kevin Sullivan?
I have so few memories of this show, and I think that has a lot to do with just how pitiful it was.
You have no memories of the show.
I have memories of the show, just so few. I have very few. I should be remembering the shit out of the show. It doesn't help that we didn't have very good seats. They weren't terrible.
Yeah, where'd you sit?
I sat, okay, I'll do it from the Giant's perspective while he's in the middle of the ring.
Do it from the hard camera.
It's easier for me to do it from Giant's perspective. Okay, so if I'm big ass Giant doing these terrible ring announcements like he would do all night, and I'm looking at the hard camera, I was to the right over here. Okay, I'd have to look to the right and up. Bam, I'm there. So I'm looking at the Giant do his terrible shit from his left, no, his right, God damn it, this is hard to say.
Were you on the floor? Or
No, I wasn't up. We were up a little, but you know how you and I at WrestleMania were like up, but we weren't up, kind of like halfway?
Yeah.
That's how I was at the BJCC, but not like how centered you and I were.
Right.
More like further out. So
okay, so you were more of like how were you in relation to the ring? Like, were you on the apron, or were you like adjacent to a turnbuckle?
Adjacent to a turnbuckle.
Okay, so kind of in the corner. So
yeah.
You were like dead center, where if you were coming out from the back, walking down the aisle, you were walking directly toward me.
Dude, so yeah, so you never saw yourself at all watching this on the network.
Which I mean, like not even close to where we were sitting. But I mean,
dude, it sounds like you were like dead nuts on the damn ramp, though.
Yeah, we were. I mean, we had good seats. We sat about like you and I sat at WrestleMania in the Georgia Dome, but in that aisleway.
Okay.
And so we were elevated to where, we weren't on the floor to where you couldn't see anything. Because if you ever take a kid and you sit on the floor, you're a fucking idiot. Unless you're sitting front row. Because no doubt about it, you're going to get fucking Andre the Giant and like Kurgan and Ron Studd that are going to sit in front of you. And so, like, you're going to have to put your child on your shoulders, so you're going to be a fucking douche to the people behind you because they can't fucking see. So always sit in the second level, as it were. This is a little heads up to you wrestling fans out there. Brother.
It's true, though. I mean, that's good, like, wrestling parent advice.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, one of the best shows I've ever went to was a WWF show, and fortunately enough, the way that they did the aisle, there were like 2 or 3 seats of a gap in front of you, and I was sitting up against the aisle. This is the one where I saw Stone Cold, Undertaker, these type of guys back in like kind of around this time period, and we were right on the aisle, and nobody was in front of us, but the people that were with us, they had to stand on their chairs to see anything. It sucks.
Oh, it does. I mean, we were
let's just sit front row like damn Pella Civic Center.
Our seats couldn't have been better for Pelham Civic Center.
Or
Well, we did.
when we were at the ballroom in Atlanta for Dragon Gate.
Oh, dude. So yeah, you and I mean, at this point, we're pretty spoiled about seats because we've been able to kind of, well, we just know what we're doing. You know, a lot of people just don't. They go into it kind of blind. They go into it kind of blind and don't necessarily know what they're getting into. They assume that a seat on the floor is going to be awesome. Then they get there with their child, and it's fucking miserable.
Yeah, I would rather pay a lot more money to sit closer or less money to sit further back. If I can't sit like front row or second row, I want to sit second level so that I'm elevated.
Sure.
You know, like a couple of shows I went to TNA and went to Zamora Temple, sat front row or second row for all those shows. And same thing when Tyler and I went to Columbus to see TNA. But let's get into the show. There's not a ton of stuff to talk about, to be honest. Shivani opens the show, points out that the NWO puts an ad in the USA Today, says while WCW's away, the NWO will play. I, of course, was 12. I did not read the USA Today. I had no clue that this hostile takeover was coming. Nor did you.
Nor did I, no. I mean, I knew that so much of the talent was going to be in Japan. And me and my friend, I remember talking to him about it. We were both so disappointed there were so many guys missing from the show, and it was going to be, so NWO heavy. I kind of thought it was like WCW's way of saying, oh, it's Birmingham. Let's just like, like they don't matter that much. It's Birmingham, freaking Alabama. Let's just, y'all go to Japan. Y'all go to Japan and do your thing. We'll handle this down here. We'll get it done. But
I mean, hindsight is kind of shitty. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, but God, I mean, they're not always hitting the major markets.
Yeah.
Fuck, you and I have covered shows in Wyoming and the Dakotas and things of this nature. So while I took it so personally as a kid because I thought they were just trying to slap Alabama in the face, I don't know. We also thought it was dumb to have so many guys in Japan in the first place when you have the hostile takeover going on.
Yeah, I always thought it was a weird deal that they were contracting these guys to Japan during during the Nitro shows. I mean, could you imagine all these guys missing Raw and SmackDown these days?
Oh, no. And something tells me Vince wouldn't have it.
No, I don't think he would either. But one thing that's interesting to note is that last night's SmackDown was at the BJCC. So talk about timing and just awkward, like bringing things together that you wouldn't think would be. We're talking about WCW Monday Nitro from September 23rd, 1996, and September 20th, 2016. The BJCC was home to SmackDown.
Yeah. By the way, this will not be happening again. Like, the stars are not going to align this well next time for you, Birmingham. It's just not happening. That's crazy time.
So the show opens with Kevin Sullivan and Conan versus Brad Armstrong and Juventud Guerrera. I thought that the match was okay. Conan and Juvi worked well together. I thought it was a great package DDT where Conan kind of catches Juvi and then drive. I thought Juvi was dead. I was like, he's dead. He's dead.
Dude, that looked so good. I mean, every week now. Good. Oh, God, it looked great. Every week now I'm impressed with things I see from Conan in that ring.
And usually, like, I dislike Conan's work as a whole. But I guess I've been judging him on his later run to where he was just, the current gimmick that he's in now, but the NWO version of that gimmick. Interesting to note in this match, Sullivan wouldn't tag in early in the match, and then he finally tags in to do this weak-ass double stomp on Brad Armstrong for the win. Gets the 3 count. all this match did was further accentuate my dislike for Kevin Sullivan.
Oh, God. Here we go.
No,
Here we go.
I'm not going to get much into it, but you're going to end the match on that?
No, I thought it was piss poor. That little
That's
double
awful.
stomp thing. That double stomp thing was so weak. And I go, wait, the match is over? That's it?
Yeah, it was like they rushed to the finish a little bit.
I thought they rushed the finish on a couple of matches on this show.
Yeah. And then post-match, we get to glorify gang violence. And the fact that Bubba and Kevin Sullivan, Big Bubba's ringside, and he and Kevin Sullivan beat down Conan, and Bubba yells blood in, blood out, and then Kevin Sullivan says the same thing. And then they all hug Conan. So he had gotten beat into the Dungeon of Doom. So,
but I don't remember them inducting any other members of the Dungeon of Doom that way. I mean, was that tradition? Do you remember that being?
No, I think it was just a way to play on the Cholo gang type gimmick that Conan had, and then they might have gotten some backlash from it, and then they kind of dropped that idea.
Yeah,
because he doesn't stay in there long.
No, in fact, when I saw them turn on him, I thought, oh, okay, well, that Conan's out. He's done with the Dungeon of Doom now. That was all but a cup of coffee.
Right.
And I thought it would just further how jaded of a wrestler he was and further perpetuate his anger. I mean, you've lost the U.S. title. You've changed your gimmick because you have a piss-poor attitude. Now you've been turned on again. I thought we were going to see. Now, maybe that's pending.
Yeah. I don't remember how he ends up out of it, but I think it maybe just ends up that the Dungeon of Doom just kind of goes away. Maybe that's down the line. I don't know. Backstage segment with Macho Man. Mike today still handling the interview duties with Mean Gene gone. Macho just promos on Hogan pushing their match at Halloween Havoc. Interesting, I thought, is I don't remember a lot of these pay-per-views at this time being sponsored. And they kept calling it Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc.
They pushed that. It's as if Slim Jim had it in their contract. You're not, by
You're
God,
fucking calling it Slim Jim Halloween Havoc.
And even the emblem associated with the pay-per-view is a dude holding a big-ass sign up above his head that says Slim Jim. I mean, they're not going to let you forget this is a Slim Jim sponsored pay-per-view. They're not going to let you forget.
No, not at all. And so Macho says he took himself off the Japan trip so that he could be at Nitro. I thought it was interesting. Macho's promos are typically all over the place, and I think that's what makes them so good sometimes. Like he and the Ultimate Warrior talk about this existential shit and getting into rocket ships and just being, fucking weirdos. But this one he talks about he and Hogan being reincarnated as goldfish 100,000 years from now. I thought that was quite amusing that we're talking about he and Hogan going to be reincarnated as goldfish.
I think there's nobody better on the WCW roster to decline their ticket to go to Japan than Macho Man.
Yeah.
Given his poor mental state, that gimmick of insanity, it is an insane move to be like, yeah, I'll do this Birmingham Nitro.
Yeah, fuck it, I'm staying.
I'm staying. I don't care how outnumbered I am. I've taken the ass whippings before. Damn it, I'll try my hand again.
Right.
Nobody better for that.
Up next, you had Mike Enos against Chris Jericho. During this match, Shivani says that Harlem Heat's going to battle the Outsiders for the WCW Tag Team titles at Halloween Havoc. Match was pretty decent. I thought that Mike Enos worked hard, and I thought Jericho did a good job of being the babyface in peril here. He just got the shit kicked out of him the whole time and ended up getting the win. What'd you think of it?
I mean, I thought it was okay. I thought it was just fine. I think it's funny how during the match, Larry Zbyszko says he's talking about Macho Man. He had just promoed. And it's like, wait, Randy Savage is the WCW's last hope? I don't like that idea. I love that. How he's like, okay, if this crazy individual is our last hope. Well, we're all out of a job.
Right.
Yeah, the match was. I thought it was just fine.
Yeah, I think it was probably one of the better matches. I think it was probably the best match on the show, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that's not saying a whole hell of a lot.
No, it's definitely damning it with faint praise. Jericho counters a power slam into an inside cradle, gets the win. Up next, Glacier versus Pat Tanaka. Did you notice Pat Tanaka's entrance music by any chance?
No, I didn't, actually.
Well, you need to go back and look at it.
Yeah?
Yeah, his entrance music was Goldberg's entrance music.
Oh, no, that's something I'll... Damn. And I usually notice little...
That's what I'm so surprised that you didn't notice it.
No, yeah, because I notice entrance music either mistakes or...
Yeah, fucking Pat Tanaka's coming out instead of them knocking on a door and doing pyros and tons of Goldberg moves and whatnot. But that's pretty much all you can really say about this match.
No, it is. It was a spinning round kick after a no-selling a power bomb for a pretty quick finish and another win for Glacier. That's all I got.
Yeah, pushing that hand sign.
The two fingers with the thumb. Is it you're a fucking loser?
Who is this who speaks to me? Yeah, so, and yeah, I remember Glacier because I thought the lights were cool. But, I mean, it's pretty much a nothing match here.
It was quick. I mean, Glacier's still on his streak of, his comeuppance here.
Right.
He's not going to lose for a little while.
Yeah, you're right. Then they show Matt Gaffari. He's a silver medalist at the 1996 Olympics. There was, I guess, I looked up some stuff on him today. Him being a silver medalist, he was never signed with a big company, but WCW had brought him in, but never signed him. And he ended up doing a little MMA in like 2002, but he was never with like a big wrestling company. He did like some smaller, like also ran kind of companies. He ended up being like a NWA tag team champion, but that was well after the NWA titles meant nothing.
Interesting. So he could have been WCW's Kurt Angle in a way.
He could have, but he was way bigger than Angle. I mean, he was huge.
He looked like a big dude.
He could have been very like Brock Lesnar-esque, I guess.
Yeah.
But I guess he just didn't pan out. Maybe he just didn't translate well to professional wrestling.
You know, I went to the 1996 Olympics, but unfortunately, I did not go see Greco-Roman wrestling, so we don't get to tie that into this show. like another aspect of this that would make it a total anomaly.
Right. Up next, you had the WCW Tag Team titles on the line as Harlem Heat do battle with Public Enemy. Pretty decent back and forth. During the match, NWO shows up in limos. And it was so cool to me. I guess I kind of marked out for a little bit. Like where they pull up in the limos, I've been right there 100,000 times.
You know,
that's the entrance that you have to come in if you park on the 19th Street side, which is the easiest place to park and get out of because you can go around the back side or you can come in the front side and hop on the interstate. I've walked in and up those stairs that they're right by for countless, high school basketball championships and concerts and whatever. If you keep walking, that's where our damn high school graduation was. The concert hall is like right down the little way there.
Interesting.
So,
I kind of marked out a little bit for when they showed all the people that were crumpling up and being anti-NWO folks, those big-ass beige columns. Where
yeah.
I mean, I've been there a bunch. I recognized it more than I recognized.
Spot. The steps that they're coming in, that's the same area.
Yeah, no, I figured it was, but the columns to me stood out more because you are just kind of in that little breezeway type area when you're going in. I mean, I was in that little area for Raw a couple years ago. I was still living in Birmingham. Me and my boss went.
How bumpkin-y did the people look?
Big time.
I mean, terrible. Like,
Big
probably
time.
one of the worst looking crowds we've seen since they've been showing people in Nitro. Like, the clothing choices, it just was like, I'm glad that they kind of glossed over it. You know, not that I'm sure that me and you were wearing, like, you know, Dapper Dan designer clothing at the time. You're probably wearing wrestling shirts and, you know, look like the bumpkins that we were, I guess.
I mean, I'll be honest. I was looking for people I knew because I mean,
Oh yeah, me too.
Because I know that like my dad's childhood friend, who was a great guy, passed in the last couple of years. Just a hell of a guy. But he was like I remember him being just a really great, going back to wrestling parents. He was like a legit wrestling fan and got his kids into it. And so I think he took both of his sons. And so they were the main people I was looking for.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you were living in Columbiana, which is, you know, 45 minutes or so south of the BJCC and you were a wrestling fan, you were going to try to make this. You were going to.
Yeah. I mean, you come one, come all. You're driving down from all kinds of places like Columbiana, or you're driving down from, you know, Coleman or right outside of Birmingham. I mean, it's just, but yeah, you could tell it was definitely when people talk about stereotypical wrestling fans and they think of a stereotypical wrestling fan, they would be found in this Birmingham crowd at Nitro.
They would have been found at the Pellup Civic Center.
Yes, exactly. They would have been there with us.
And you want to talk about bumpkin from concentrate at the damn Columbiana skating rink, which is well documented on this show.
Yeah, no doubt.
It is, man.
So in this match, Booker T got Rocco Rock in a small package. Rock reversed it and ended up pinning Booker T. Public Enemy are your new WCW Tag Team titles. Okay match. I didn't really... I remembered the title switch, but I didn't remember getting into the match except for the finish when I realized that Public Enemy had won, and I was never a big fan of them. I loved Harlem Heat.
Yeah.
And I guess I was thinking today about, like, I guess I was kind of I don't know how you're like a fan of heels when you're 12, but when I went to this show, I bought a Four Horsemen shirt, and I bought the Four Horsemen, like, foam fingers, and I was pissed when Harlem Heat lost. And I liked the NWO pretty much, except for Hogan.
You know, I think Harlem Heat, they were the only heels I liked around this time.
They were cool, man.
They were so cool.
Their music was cool. A lot of the moves that they did were cool. It's kind of, I don't know, they didn't do a lot of heelish stuff, I think. It was just more of like, their heelish stuff was like badass stuff, and their managers cheated. They didn't necessarily cheat themselves. Times.
They would talk a lot of shit on the way to the ring. The camera's sure to stay on them during that, but like a lot of guys do that anyway. And you're right, their managers cheat. They do the kicks from Booker T. Booker T has a kick in this match that, I mean, the announcers even say it looks like he took his damn head off. I mean, it looks like when Michael Jordan is slam dunking and he's like spread throughout the air, the Jumpman symbol. That's what Booker T looks like when he's kicking people. And he's so good. The kick man by Booker T. That's actually a pretty good idea for his ass. He's so good at the spot. He does it during this match where he attempts a kick, gets hung up on the rope, and he's just on it with his crotch, and he's making it look like it's hurting his junk. You know, some guys are just really proficient at making certain things look like they hurt really bad. Look no further than Bret Hart's when he runs into the turnbuckle, looks like he breaks his sternum. Ric Flair's Flair flip. Well, Booker T has one of those in his arsenal, and it's this one, getting hung up on the ropes after attempting a kick.
Yeah, and he does it. If you have a long match where the Harlem Heat's going to get some heat on them, is where they're, they're kind of in distress a little bit, that spot's going to happen. It did it Hog Wild. He's done it here. He did it in the last match at Fall Brawl against the Nasty Boys. It's a great spot. So, Public Enemy are your tag team champions. As it stands right now, they will be facing the Outsiders at Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc. Make sure you get Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc in there.
No.
So they're going to be doing back. I don't remember if they switched the titles back or not. But it does make sense to have Public Enemy be the one that loses, because I don't think they're as strong as Harlem Heat in the eyes of WCW.
Definitely not. I think that's good booking if that's what they end up doing.
And
for sure.
if you're a fan, you're not really a fan of Harlem Heat. You're not going to cheer heels up against, like, it would be tough for you to cheer heels up against the NWO, I think. If you're used to hating somebody, it's like when Alabama played Clemson in the national championship. Like, you were rooting for Bane to show up at halftime. And the stadium to implode. You've seen the Batman movie, have you not?
I have. I thought that was a terrific reference, yet to me it was never, I was never, that wasn't my attitude necessarily. I was definitely
fucking hate Clemson.
I mean, I don't like him either, but like I was.
And I would cheer for Satan himself against Alabama, probably.
I mean, I was definitely rooting for Clemson to win the game. I mean, dude, it was never, I mean, if Bane would have shown up, fine, but. Because Bane's really
cool. Yeah.
I love Tom Hardy.
Yeah. Up next, Greg Valentine against the Macho Man. Pretty much a nothing match. Macho goes nuts again, gets DQ'd, hits Valentine with a chair, and then the show goes off the rails. The NWO shows up, Outsiders, DiBiase 6, beat down the Macho Man, and Valentine. I made sure to watch this because I knew that they would come out and beat up Macho Man, because I specifically remember the angle where they beat him up and spray painted his head and all that stuff. And I wanted to focus on what Greg Valentine did. And that's like my favorite pastime since we started the show, is to see what the other person in the match does when their opponent is getting the shit kicked out of them by the NWO. Remember, I talked about Harlem Heat just kind of looking at the Outsiders when they had the bats. Here, Greg Valentine like slips out of the back side of the ring and just kind of looks at the ring, and he's like, well, see you later.
Dude.
Walks away. And the amazing French Canadians do the same thing in the main event.
I think pretty much, hell, 3/4 of the roster looks very cowardly for never doing anything about the NWO. I mean, here they take over the show, which we'll get to, and they're just coming on out and participating.
Yep, exactly. I have tons of problems where I'll just shit all over it, where, you know how I like my logic and my realism when it comes to my wrestling. So I'm going to shit all over a lot of some of the stuff that's coming forward here. The Giant gets on the mic, which is your favorite part of the evening. Gets on the mic, high fives everybody, and then he announces Hogan. And for some reason, the Giant is singing like the Family Feud theme song. When Hogan comes out, he's like, da-da-da, da-da-da. I was thinking, like, what the fuck? Like, Ray Combs are coming out because he was still alive at this point. Richard Dawson, Steve Harvey going to come out.
It's
so like, if you listen to him, that's exactly what it was.
That's so weird because I couldn't make out exactly what he was singing into the microphone, but I'm going like, dude, he's already got entrance music. Like,
they don't play it on the network, which sucks.
Yeah, well. They
playing the belt and shit.
At this point he's coming out to Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was until later.
No, I think he comes out to it, but they don't use it on the network.
Because then you owe a royalty or whatever to Jimi Hendrix's estate or whatever.
Correct.
damn. You know, they do the same thing. You know, when you and I went to WrestleMania 27 at the Dome, the Georgia Dome, if you watch that match on YouTube, I assume it's the same way on the network. You know, at this point, he's coming out to Johnny Cash's "There Ain't No Grave" around this time period. If you watch it today, he's coming out to the usual funeral march.
Oh yeah, because they have a limited. They probably have a live or a limited rights to it. If you will. So Hogan comes out, drops a few leg drops, and what I want to point out before you talk about it is there was a guy sitting ringside with a Hulk Hogan wrestling buddy, and he had purchased a NWO shirt, and he put it on the wrestling buddy, and he had a white shirt on that he had written himself Hulk Rules on the back.
Just
bumpkin as hell. He had his wrestling buddy, though. He had it in his hand. He's holding. God, it's so bumpkin, and it's so Birmingham, Alabama.
It's very that's Mark City too.
Oh, it definitely is. But it cracked me up. I was like, holy shit, that's a wrestling buddy with a fucking t-shirt on.
I hate that I missed this guy. Like, did he get like size small for the thing, or did he get like?
No, it was like a medium maybe, and it was draped like you couldn't see Hogan's legs. You could see the arms in it and the head sticking out. Like you knew it was a fucking wrestling buddy though. Like just pop on the network and look at it. I mean, just go to the Greg Valentine match and you'll see it. He's holding it up because the Giant, when Hogan drops his second leg drop, they reverse where the hard camera is, and it's not like where it normally is, and that's and you see it, and he's just holding it up, bumpkin as ever.
I'll have to check it out then.
So what do you think about the beat down here? And care to give us some details of the beat down?
Oh, well, as far as my opinions on the beatdown, it's kind of predictable. All night long it had been teased that Macho Man had a target on his back.
Right.
And so the NWO was going to attack the WCW's strongest point, and on this particular evening in Birmingham, Alabama, that strongest man was the Macho Man. Like you said, a lot of leg drops from Hogan. Everyone's doing their finisher, the jackknife powerbomb. You see the Razor's Edge, or at this point, the Outsider's Edge. Mm-hmm. And gotta love the synergy with Slim Jim. This is the first time we see the whipping Macho Man with the Slim Jim. And the Giant being large, of course, after the Slim Jim whipping, he eats it.
He's like right in the camera, and he bites it. He's like, snap into it.
Hey! They do a good job with their synergy around this time period.
Yeah, they do.
While also maintaining kayfabe like a motherfucker. They do a good job with that. They spray paint the bald spot, probably the most memorable thing that happens on the show, whether you were there live or whether you were watching on TV. But, dude, I don't know why I have so few memories of this show, but I think that's a bad thing. When you, many years later, remember so few details of the show. That goes to show you how bad it was.
Right.
So.
It just doesn't stick with you. I mean, I remember the beatdown of him vividly because I loved Macho Man, and I liked Hall and Nash. I didn't really care for the Giant very much. I didn't like Hogan. So I was kind of torn, neither here nor there on the NWO. But I didn't like that they beat the Macho Man up and just left him laying and stuff. But then we get Hall and Nash heading toward the broadcast booth. Mike Tenay and Heenan run off, and they make Bischoff stay. And he's trying to leave the whole rest of the show. The entire NWO is at the booth at this time. And Hall then announces the head of security, who's Vincent.
And you want to talk about a non-reaction. I don't recall, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember hearing boos about Vincent specifically or cheers about Vincent specifically.
I don't remember seeing him.
Yeah.
It was more of a TV reveal than anything. I mean, there might have been some people that were sitting right by the booth that knew it was him because he didn't necessarily like come out to where we could see him very good. And I would have popped huge because I fucking loved Virgil. I would have.
That surprises me. Well, it would surprise me if not for your Virgil action figure that you booked so well and amongst your.
That's the whole point. I just thought I grew an affinity to like him based on his action figure. But it's interesting that they call him Vincent because the whole idea of him being called Virgil was a rib from WWF on Dusty Rhodes because his name is Virgil Runnels. So now WCW in turn calls him Vincent as a jab at McMahon.
That's incredibly funny and interesting and just further perpetuates how weird the wrestling business is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And so petty sometimes.
Yes.
Wrestling is so petty sometimes. And I think other businesses are petty as well, but you don't get to focus on like the inner workings of the pettiness because you can't really control a lot of other like real sports. You know? You can't really like not pass the guy the ball because he didn't respect guys in the locker room. You don't do that because it makes you lose and that kind of shit. Then we get the only time Kevin Nash has ever had heat with me in this next little segment here. Did you pick up on this?
Yes, damn it.
He mentions his brother-in-law told him there are only two things worth watching: Alabama football and NASCAR racing. And I was like, you fucking kidding me?
It's interesting. No, because I wonder if it was like a way to like say, hey, brother-in-law, how you doing? I'm referencing you. But he kind of pokes fun at NASCAR a bit. He doesn't
and then
so much.
He no-sells the rest of like Alabama football. I mean, they make fun of NASCAR racing for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting that he chose one and not the other.
Well, because they were debuting their NWO NASCAR.
Which we would see here shortly.
Yeah.
Like how he talks about Kyle Petty and why he's a good driver for NWO, because he had gotten a little trouble, it grew his hair long, I think they mentioned.
Yeah, he grown his hair out, but he had gotten in a fight with, I can't remember what driver, but it was like a big deal. You know, NASCAR is really, really southern and gentlemanly. You know, they like to, you know, this Bobby Hillin and fight, Kyle Petty fights. Let's see.
I know it, like I know the precise person I could text right now to ask about this. Like everybody has that. Everybody has that. Like, or at least in this part of the country, you have that one friend who's a total mark for NASCAR. One, you'll have like one or two.
See, I don't have. I know that Matt would know, but I don't know that he would remember who Kyle Petty fought with. But anyway, unimportant little diatribe there that we're trying to figure out who he fought. Doesn't matter. The fact that they had an NWO race car, it kind of fed into the southern fan base of WCW. You know, Jim Crockett Promotions and WCW big in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama. That's a huge, huge NASCAR base too.
It is. Well, I thought not only does it perpetuate that, but I think it also further perpetuates how wealthy and powerful NWO is.
Yeah.
If we can, they even talk about it. Like Hall talks about how if we can take over wrestling, dude, we can take over other sports too. We'll take over NASCAR. We got us a car. We're that rich. We're that powerful. We're here to stay.
I think it did a good job of kind of adding to the greatness of the NWO and the legitimacy of them at this point. I loved when Hall said that this was rednecks dipping skull and driving real fast in a circle. That's what he said NASCAR was.
There were times during this telecast, regardless how bad it was, I tipped my invisible fedora to Mr. Scott Hall for some of his commentary.
Oh, he and Nash are fucking great on their commentary.
Dude, like, it makes me think he could have done more of it around this time period, or hell, even afterwards.
Oh, dude, he and Nash are hilarious. They make fun. They call. We'll get to that. Well, let's just go ahead and go to it right now. Jim Powers versus M. Wall Street, who is no longer VK Wall Street, who's now M. Wall Street. Of course, the Giant was the ring announcer now. But Hall and Nash make fun of Teddy Long's weight. They call him Peanut Head and talk about how fat he was.
Which made me think about one of our first episodes. Teddy Long fat as shit.
I popped huge for it because he was fat. He was so small. Like, I guess you don't really remember him. Like, he wasn't small when he was with Doom, but he was much smaller than he is right now. Right now in form of the show. And then they talk about Powers being juiced up for action, like insinuating that he was on the sauce. I thought that was funny as shit.
I think it was also funny that Scott Hall made references to Jim Powers' physique that he attributed to prayers and vitamins.
Yeah.
That was good stuff.
Just little things like that. Like, it's so good. So good. And here, again, they beat the shit out of Jim Powers. And you could see M. Wall Street just walking down the aisle. Like, oh, see you later, guys. And Randy Anderson leaves. He takes his bow tie off and says, I'm not dealing with this shit.
Yeah.
And then Nick Patrick comes out sporting an earring this week.
Getting good and heelish. Starting to get heelish.
NWO. Yeah, just kind of laying the foundation. He comes out and he's like, what? If you won't do it, I'm going to do my job. And, trying to be, he's on the up and up here, but he obviously wore an earring outside of the ring, but like this earring was very demonstrative. You could tell it was in there. Oh,
the camera did. They took care to get a good close-up of him with that earring, and you as a viewer are going, man, I further cannot trust this guy. He's stepping in for Randy Anderson, and I liked how slowly they've built his turn. I mean, he's been a tweener for a while now. Hell, at the end of this, he's still a tweener. He's called every match in favor of the NWO, but has had his back turned to a lot of the different things. He's still a tweener.
Yeah. He's doing his job.
Yeah.
Up next, you had Hogan spray painting the NWO on the walls of the BJCC. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then Hogan pitches talking business with the Nasty Boys and kind of insinuates that they're going to talk business, but they never show them again. Like they're going to drink champagne in their suite. So kind of laying the foundation that the Nasties may go the NWO route.
Yeah, it gives him his room key, which I'm sure was the Sheraton. It's just right there.
Right.
I don't recall what they do with the Nasty Boys in regards to this angle going forward. There's a part of me that thinks that they just kind of let it dissolve and do nothing with it.
Yeah, I think that's what they do. Either that or they want to join and the NWO beats them down like they did with the Booty Man.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to look at some old lariats and see if, like, maybe there was a contract coming to an end that the Nasty Boys just didn't renew, therefore they dropped the whole deal. I'm going to look into that for sure.
Up next, your boy, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And they're supposed to do battle with Ron Studd, but Hogan and Nash beat down Ron Studd, and Syxx replaces Ron Studd. My biggest issue with this is Hacksaw comes out to the ring like all smiles and with the flag. There's no way that legitimately Hacksaw Jim Duggan doesn't go and try to fight them. Based on what we know about Hacksaw Jim Duggan from the 80s to this point.
Yeah, I mean, the only act of hostility we see from him is that he takes a nice swing at Nick Patrick with his 2x4, and that's it. He just carries on.
But to see how emotional he was in that promo talking about Hogan turning to the NWO when they were down in MGM, and to see that he's just like, all smiles and thumbs up and waving the American flag, like he can't go and do some damage. And he's never been one to like back down from a fight, no matter how many people are there to kick the shit out of him.
You're right.
So I thought it kind of did a disservice to him as a character, which will be a theme, I guess, going forward for him and WCW. This kind of shit all over him. But I thought he should have gone straight to the broadcast booth and then just got his ass kicked. But, I mean, I guess you didn't want to involve Hacksaw in a high-level feud.
I guess not, but it doesn't surprise me that so many of the guys in the locker room would have wanted to be a part of the NWO, considering how strong all these guys look and how weak the WCW roster looks, minus Macho Man, but they're not booking Macho Man worth a damn.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're hoping, if you're not in the NWO, that you feud with another wrestler and you don't have to interact with the NWO, because if you're not doing well in WCW, then you can leave and you don't have to get just completely squashed by the NWO. I mean, look at guys like Benoit, Malenko, Guerrero, Jericho. They all did a good job of staying clear of the NWO. They didn't really feud with them at all, and they looked strong and were able to leave the company. Obviously not designed by WCW, but, you got to think about that in the wrestling business the way it is. Giant chokeslam Hacksaw, then throws him into the ring, and then Six gets the win over Hacksaw. Terrible match, which is the theme of the rest of these matches, to be honest.
It is, and not a good way. I mean, NWO be damned. You have a new talent receiving a paycheck from Ted Turner in Sean Waltman. Why not have him debut a little stronger?
Yeah, I mean, he has to get help, but I mean, that makes sense that the NWO doesn't win anything clean, and it goes with, I guess, the size difference of Six and Hacksaw. Up next, NWO Sting against Bo Ledoux. The crowd popped like it really was Sting.
I mean, just
dummies.
Good job, Birmingham.
And then when they realized it wasn't him, they started chanting, "We want Sting."
Oh, I'll never. This is one of my few memories from the show. There was this really funny, pissed off black lady in the row in front of me going, "No, that ain't Sting. No." And I was pissed off too. I said, "You're right, ma'am. It isn't Sting. This sucks," or something like that. We were like, at that one moment in life, we were like on the same page. We were both like, you know what? Damn it, this is bullshit.
Right.
So.
A nothing match. It was awful. Terrible, terrible match. Then we go back to commentary. Hogan starts talking about he and Macho Man doing bad on Everybody Wants front row tickets. A big gaffe here for him is he says that he's excited about Caesar's Palace where he's going to beat down the Macho Man. Halloween Havoc is not at Caesar's Palace there, Hulk. It's at the MGM Grand, the Garden Arena, which is well down the road from Caesar's Palace. It's like, dude, come on. Fucking pay attention where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, WrestleMania 9 at Caesar's Palace was 4 years prior.
Yeah, exactly. Which he fucking showed up at. That's where he probably had a little flashback.
Yeah.
He beat Yokozuna after Yokozuna beat Brett.
Yep.
After he'd had a jet ski accident. Hogan did. And his face was fucked up.
Well, no, I think are you mixing that up with Beefcake and his parasailing accident?
Nope.
Okay, so totally separate incident. Okay.
Nope. I don't mix things up. I'm not Hulk Hogan.
Nice.
High Voltage. Can you believe that this was going to be the main event of the evening?
God in heaven.
High Voltage versus the Amazing French Canadians was your scheduled, air quotes, scheduled main event of the evening. I loved DiBiase, of course, makes fun of the French Canadians because they say something to the camera, and he's like, What did they say? I can't understand them. And then they start singing the Canadian national anthem. Nobody takes a knee or anything, but the outsiders come out. And the French Canadians also just leave. They take their flags and they walk away.
Dude, this whole show, I described it to you as earlier as unwatchable when we were talking about it.
It's a shit show, man.
It's so bad.
And the match doesn't get any better when the Amazing French Canadians leave. So your main event's high voltage against the outsiders. Awful, awful match. Just a straight squash. The NWO and the rest of Hogan and the bunch are on commentary, and they're just running down Macho and the rest of WCW, and nobody's really saying anything funny anymore because Hall and Nash are in the ring. So commentary is terrible at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Hall and Nash get the win. Then they come back to the booth, and Hogan promotes Three Ninjas, Magic Mountain. Did you see that movie?
I did not see it, but I was a total mark for the first Three Ninjas for sure.
I've never seen either of them.
Oh man, well there's a second one they did that was okay, but this was like number 3 or 4, and you know how some of these franchises get where they just get so
well. The fact that
down.
Hogan was in the movie tells you everything.
It does, but I liked Mr. Nanny.
Terrible movie.
Well, I'm not going to say it's not a good movie. I'm not going to call Mr. Nanny a good movie, but
so out of all of Hogan's movies where he was the main star, because if you say best movie that Hogan was ever in, no question about it's Rocky 3.
Oh, no doubt.
But if you're looking at him as the main person, what's his best movie ever, you think? In your opinion, in Robert McElroy's opinion.
He doesn't, well, A, he wasn't in a lot of them where he was the lead. B, he doesn't have a massive filmography, period.
There's only one answer, and you didn't give it. It was Suburban Commando is the answer.
Oh, okay. Thank you for your fucking trick question. I appreciate it.
Your boyfriend's in it.
What?
Undertaker is in Suburban Commando.
Well, I'm clearing my plans for the rest of the evening. I'm going to watch my boyfriend in that movie, damn it. I'm going to go check that shit out. For those of you that don't know, Dudley always refers to The Undertaker as my boyfriend because he's my favorite wrestler and I'm a mark for him, so.
Yeah. So I never heard of Three Ninjas Magic Mountain, but Hogan says that Nash can be in it. And Nash is, saying that that's cool. And then Scott Hall asked the Giant if Andre was his dad to close the show, which is what they billed the Giant as without saying it when he first came to WCW, saying that he was Andre's son, and that was the whole idea, and they just quietly kind of didn't say it any longer.
Yeah, and he had the same ring attire as Andre, that sort of thing. It was always a rumor amongst us at school that he was legitimately the nephew of Andre the Giant. I don't know. I don't know who it was that.
Y'all had hot takes at Cornerstone Christian.
This is Elvin Hill Elementary School, brother.
Hot takes at the Columbiana Skating Rink Elementary School.
Well, Christ, I'm trying to think. Yeah, because we had been watching the Giant, prior to the 96, 95, 94, and I remember some kids talking about it at school. And this is Andre the Giant's nephew, straight up. And so, I bought it, but I remember hearing rumors about him being his son as well, but I didn't realize. But
WCW kind of intimated that he was
okay.
He was
his
son.
So that makes more sense. And here they just kind of
shrug it off and just.
They do. Screw the storyline. That was a storyline invented by WCW. But Giant doesn't have a really good retort for him. He doesn't have anything funny or witty to say. He's like, no, why'd you have to go there?
He's so terrible. On the mic. I can't believe, of all the people that they could have put as the ring announcer, they picked him.
Dude, you picked DiBiase for that.
You picked DiBiase or Hall or Nash so that they could make Hall or Nash so they could make fun of everybody.
Yeah.
Like, make quippy comments that are going to get over with the crowd. Oh, no, you get a vest. By the power of this vest on me, I'm going to be the ring announcer.
You know, and other than, like, as far as the memories I have of the show, other than my friend I made in the front row who was pissed off about Sting like I was, what I remember the most is seeing the Giant in, like, his, like, nice or trying to be nice outfit and him trying to be funny and goofy and going like, that's kind of interesting that he's even capable.
Yeah.
This is weird. I also remember the ring being just full of trash and debris and him talking to the microphone saying, all right, clean this mess up. I guess to whoever the little Chi-Fi pledges were who were cleaning all the
little minions around the ring.
That must have been during a commercial or something, because it doesn't happen to the telecast.
No, I think my memories of the show would definitely be Mysterio in the dark match and them beating down Macho and spray painting his head. Because from where I was sitting, you could hear the NASCAR, but you couldn't see it very well from where I was sitting.
Yeah.
And I don't remember seeing Virgil, or I would have popped huge, like I said, because I don't think he was ever really announced to the live crowd. And that's what sucks about this era of WCW is if you had Titantrons, it would have been so much better because you would have been able to see a lot of the stuff that was going on and, you know, see all this stuff that's popping ratings. But watching it live, it sucked.
Yeah. No, it did.
But I got my Four Horsemen shirt and I got my damn Four Horsemen foam finger. So that's all that matters.
I wouldn't get any WCW merch until the next show I went to. I ended up having a pretty nice little collection of WCW duds. I got my Diamond Dallas t-shirt at some point. I had the damn, all right, there were these black shirts that would just have in white, paint or what have you, just basically a headshot of the wrestler. I had one of Ric Flair and one of Sting. And dude, when I wore those to school in the halls of Columbiana Middle School, they would be the only time I ever got compliments from people.
I couldn't wear wrestling shirts to school because we wore uniforms. So I went to a private Catholic school, so I wasn't able to wear my Four Horsemen shirt to school.
Yeah, I wish I could. Man,
that was the only WCW show I ever went to.
Really?
Well, I mean, after that, I didn't really have a good time. I mean, it was cool to be there and everything, but, I mean, look at what you watched.
Oh, it was bad now.
It was awful. I mean, the matches were shitty, and then you compare that to the WWF house show that we went to, which was great. It had a damn cage match on it, Undertaker and Stone Cold and Bret Hart and the Nation of Domination and all kinds of damn people. It was awesome. And you compare that with Nitro, I mean, you were just like, if you had to decide, I would have been like, dude, fuck WCW. That shit was terrible. It was.
I remember,
I think we were trying to come back to Thunder, but couldn't because of a baseball tournament or something, maybe. Because didn't you say you go to Thunder?
Yeah, I was going to say I went to 2 more WCW events after this. It was another Nitro, but the Giant had already gone back to WCW. I remember him specifically. He was a face around this time. And then, yeah, I went to a WCW Thursday Night Thunder. All of this at the BJCC.
Yeah. See, the house show that I went to was at Boutwell, which is a smaller venue. It's very similar to Center Stage.
Mm-hmm.
But look, I mean, obviously bigger than Center Stage, but different than the BJCC.
I think the Boutwell Auditorium has a little bit more it's a bit richer in its wrestling history as far as a venue in Birmingham for wrestling, for sure.
ECW ran there.
Yeah, see, there you go.
And WWF ran there a little bit, and local, like, older wrestling, like Jackie Fargo, Tojo Yamamoto, those type of guys back in the day in the territories, they'd run about well.
Tojo Yamamoto was a wrestler my dad used to always reference when we were kids.
Yeah, but my mom always talked about how this friend of hers growing up, that friend's grandmother always wanted to watch wrestling. Loved Jackie Fargo and Tojo Yamamoto.
Now, one of the bigger wrestling celebrities in Birmingham that I just didn't hear about much because he's probably more of the territory era is the Great Kaiser.
Yeah, see, I've never heard of him.
He's still living there, and in fact, where you and I were living, just down the road was the Winn-Dixie. That's where I'd get groceries. It's also where my pharmacy was. Well, I was really good friends with, really good acquaintances with both the pharmacist, who was really hot, and the pharmacy techs there. We just had a good old time. I'd go in there and say hello to them. We'd have fun. Well, they were kind enough to get the Great Kaiser to autograph a little article that had been written about him. They framed it and gave it to me. It's hanging right here in my room.
Yeah, I remember when you got it. We were still living at the Chief House.
That's right.
Yeah, I think he's kind of locally known. I never heard of him, but I know somebody else who knows of him and comes into their restaurant and whatnot.
There's a really badass picture of him in Jim Davenport's Pizza. It's like an autographed picture. That's like the first image of him I'd ever seen. I was like, holy shit, it's wrestling. I'm in a mainstream place. There's wrestling. Who is this? Oh, it's the Great Kaiser. Oh, cool. That's how I learned about him.
All right, well, you have anything else?
No, man, I've enjoyed this Birmingham wrestling discussion, man. It kind of makes me want to go back and visit, though I don't know when the hell that's going to be.
Yeah, it's very, very nostalgic in a lot of ways. The fact that this Nitro was local and we both went to it. Terrible show to watch, and not very much better being there, I don't guess. But that's going to do it for us today. Tell us where you can find us, people can find you on social media.
Instagram and Twitter is being_large. On Facebook, shoot me like at Robert McElroy actor.
Follow us on our channel, YouTube channel. We tweet that out on our Twitter, which is at a combined weight. It's at and then a combined weight. That's our Twitter handle. Or you can shoot us an email, questions, comments, concerns, PayPal, donations, birthday cards, at a combined weight at gmail.com. Thanks for clicking the link that brought you here on PWInsiderElite.com. We'll see you next time.